Good evening, all. Welcome to the meeting. Call to order, roll call. We're going to do a little different this evening. We're going to start with Mike Fire, and if you would just say what your name is and that you are an alderman and what district you're in, and then we're going to start with Matt, and if you would just say your name and what your position is with the Visit Marshfield. So, Mike, take it away.
Mike Fire, first.
Oh, would you please use your microphone?
Mike Fire, first ward alderman, also a member of the Make Marshfield Better.
Thank you.
Natasha Tompkins, I'm District 3 alderperson.
Brian Marshall, alderperson, District 4.
Scott Cran, District 5, and I'm also a member of Visit Marshfield.
Harold Wolfgram, City Attorney.
Lois T. Strake, Mayor.
Steve Park, City Administrator.
Jessica Schiffrold, Clerk.
Jen Ellis, District 6.
Brian Giles, District 7.
Mike O'Reilly, District 9.
Andrew Reigel, District 10.
Matt McLean, the Executive Director of Visit Marshfield.
Lynn Pilch with Pilch and Barnett.
Becky Pearson, the Office Manager for Visit Marshfield.
Corey LaTorrell, Treasurer for Visit Marshfield.
Gary Cummings, member of Visit Marshfield.
Erin Howard, member of Visit Marshfield.
Daniel Weiner, owner of Mill Creek and member of Visit Marshfield.
Al Cheney, Visit Marshfield Board President.
Thank you all very much. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item C, public comment period, correspondence. At this time, I'll recognize persons in attendance wishing to address the council. Upon recognition by me, persons may address the council first stating their name and address. Comments will be limited to no more than 5 minutes, and persons are asked to be respectful when addressing the council. No action will be taken regarding items not on the agenda. However, the council will take comments from the public under advisement. Please note that council members will not respond to your comments or questions. Are there any public comments this evening? Are there any public comments this evening? Any public comments this evening? Seeing none, move on to item D. Purpose of meeting, Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it fairly short so we can get into the main event of interacting here. Just a little background. First of all, I want to thank everybody on the Visit Marshfield board for all the great work you guys do. And I came here in 2011, and back then it was called Marshfield Convention and Visitors Bureau, but some outstanding projects over the years, obviously Maple Fall Fest and all the great things that this body does. So I just want to commend you for current and past work. I'm going to talk a little bit about the purpose. First of all, I want to give a short background again, for people who might not know. This ties to room tax money collected from the lodging tax paid by people coming to visit the community. It's gone up over the years. It's now at 8%, which is the maximum allowed by state law. I mentioned before that it used to be called the Marshfield Convention and Visitors Bureau. Been Visit Marshfield now for about 8 years or so, thereabouts. There was an agreement signed between the city and Visit Marshfield, I think in 2017. I believe it was 5 years. I may be wrong, but I think that's what it was. And then the current contract we're operating under is a 4-year agreement that started from 2022 and runs through the end of March of 2026. We are in the last year of the agreement. So sort of why we're here in large part is the fact that in March, the council authorized me to send a note, which I did to Matt on March 13th, saying that we want to, under contract provision 10, we wanted to discuss renegotiating. And if we didn't do it by March 31st of 2025, we would have lost that opportunity. So that's why we're here tonight, not to negotiate at this moment, but just to be interacting as we look at our steps going forward. There would have been automatic renewal if we hadn't done anything. So anyway, I put some items on your desk tonight, and I put them on everybody, so you should have them whether you're a member of the council or associated with Visit Marshfield. The first one is a copy of Wisconsin Statute 66.0615. I'm guessing many of you have seen it before. I've shared it with the council. I'm guessing that the Visit Marshfield representatives have seen it as well. That's what lays down the foundation for the collection and the appropriation of room tax funds. The next one is it's got 3 pages that are a little bit different from one another. The front page is a room tax allocation survey done by our staff, looking at our immediate neighbors, Rapids, Point, and Wausau, and then some other cities around Wisconsin that have room tax collections and how they appropriate the funds. The second page of that, and by the way, I want to note that there's a mistake. the line on the front page of that three-page document says that 20% of position cost for the Wenzel Family Plaza Coordinator come from Visit Marshfield. That's really 40%. We're very grateful for that. You've been supporting that position for, I think, maybe 4 years now? Okay. So anyway, we're thankful for that. I apologize for that error. And after that is Form 990. That's how Visit Marshfield has spent funds, and it shows their liabilities and assets over the last 4 years as shown on Form 990. And then the last one shows the balance and the monies collected over the last 4 years, 2020 through 2025 approximately, for room tax revenues. The other items on your desk, the current agreement that's in place with between the city and Visit Marshfield through the end of March of 2026. The business plan for 2024 provided to me by Matt recently, although I've seen it before, certainly. And then some information. One of our council members, Natasha Tompkins, had requested some questions be addressed. Thanks you, Matt, for addressing those. And then clipped onto that particular document are some financial statements provided by Visit Marshfield. So tonight, once again, here's the framework. No decisions are being made tonight. There's nothing on the agenda that would have council even being authorized to vote for anything. This is a fact-finding mission in which we can have a presentation by Matt here shortly, and anybody else who is joining from Visit Marshfield, about your organization, what you do, what you're planning on doing in the future perhaps. And then there'll be questions and discussion with the council, in which case you'll be asked perhaps to answer questions that they have. Then the council will be deciding maybe what the next steps in the process would be. Where do they want to take it from here? That'll be the only decision they would make, is where they want to take it from here as far as any future information requests or any future meetings they want to arrange. And then we will wrap up. So hopefully I covered pretty much everything just to lay kind of a basic foundation, what brought us here tonight and what we hope to accomplish. And with that, I would turn it back to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, we'll start with Matt, a report on current projects, future projects, representatives from Visit Marshfield. If you want, yeah, the little button, thank you, perfect.
Thank you, Lois. All right, great. Yeah, I just want to give a brief presentation, and I'll have a couple of my partners and the board come up to say a few words as well. Again, we are a 501c6 nonprofit with a board. We've recently added a few new board members, so say hi to Aaron and Danielle. They're our two newest board members of this year. Our mission statement is to attract visitors to Marshfield through marketing, development of attractions, and events to create economic impact. And just a couple of the things you might notice about. Steve had mentioned Maple Fall Fest. We've ran Maple Fall Fest. I've ran it for 12 years now, and it's a really great festival. We got voted best festival this last year, and a really great thing that we love to do. Also, we do the visitor guide. If you haven't got a copy of it, I got one laying right there. And there's some in the lobby, but we have over 40 racks of those, and we print about 40,000 of those and have about 20,000 go out locally and 20,000 throughout the state. We have been a partner with the city for 33 years as the entity and doing the tourism marketing and tourism development. And I did speak with Steve about it, and I think we've met or exceeded all current tourism entity agreements. So everything that's in the agreement, we've met or exceeded that. At this time, I'm going to bring up Corey Latourell from Hotel Marshfield, and she is also a member of the Wisconsin Hotel and Lodging Association board. So I guess I would call her our room tax expert.
Good evening, everyone. Nice seeing you again. As Matt mentioned, I've been in the industry for 51 years and general manager of Hotel Marshfield, and I'm also sitting on the Wisconsin Hotel and Lodging Association board for 6 or 7 years. So we talk about room tax quite a bit. I heard Steve mention the term CVB earlier, which is Convention and Visitors Bureau, and that's the old school name that most every city has. Naming our entity, Visit Marshfield, speaks a little bit more to what it actually does. So just a couple of things on the slide that I'll mention. Tourism means travel for recreational, business, or educational purposes. A tourism entity is a nonprofit organization such as Visit Marshfield came into existence, that came into existence before January 1st, 2015. Spends at least 51% of its revenue on tourism promotion, tourism development, and provide destination marketing and services for the tourism industry in a municipality. Tourism promotion and tourism development means any of the following that are significantly used by transient tourists and reasonably likely to generate paid overnight stays. So in this industry, we call it heads and beds. They usually stay overnight and at more than one establishment, which is a tax under sub. Marketing projects including advertising, media buys, creation, distribution, or printed electronic promotional tourist materials, or efforts to recruit conventions, sporting events, or motor coach tours. So how can room tax be spent? My time in the Wisconsin Hotel and Lodging Association, we have a pretty big presence in Madison and attend quite a few events there and we're the voice for the tourism industry for the state of Wisconsin. So I hear a lot of things about room tax and how it's spent and where it comes from. So here's how it can be spent. Up to 30% of it goes to the municipality. So right now, the room tax that we collect, the city gets 30% of that. What expenditures are eligible? It's reasonably likely to generate, again, paid overnight stays. That's ultimately the goal. And there's a whole lot of other things that come along with that. But the overnight stays are the ones that generate the most revenue for the city, and it generates more of the room tax. If a municipality has only one property, is it likely to generate stays there? If you're unsure, ask a lodging property operator. Will it significantly be used by transient tourists? Yeah, it is. And we've collected RFPs for conferences, for association business, anybody that's looking for rooms in the Marshfield area. At least 70% of the tax dollars must be spent on tourism promotion and tourism development. Things that we've used, and I talked about this at the last time we met, we spend money on advertising, the travel guide that you see that comes out, our website, which I think somebody's going to talk about that too, which is doing very well. Some cities are funding convention centers. Some, just Green Bay went through the draft, so their visitors bureau was very involved in all aspects of greeting guests, making sure things were comfortable, making sure people were coming to the city for it. Not that they had to try too hard, but they were significantly involved. Door County's significantly involved in everything that they do to get tourists in that neck of the woods. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. Next up, I just want to talk about some of our finances, and I think I had mentioned this to the group a while ago, but just kind of in review. Many CVBs had layoffs and struggled mightily during the pandemic, as I'm sure many of you know. We had some money in the bank, so we were able to keep on track and keep on marketing. And we did, after the pandemic, kind of decided that many CVBs around the state had made a reserve policy to have 6 months or a year of operating expenses in reserve. Some places have had their main hotel burned down, or there's been natural disasters. I think the Dells had a huge flood years ago. And so definitely want to be able to survive and also keep the marketing dollars on. And a good amount of the money that we currently have in our savings is from grants. From 2020 to 2023, it was over $500,000. We have increased our marketing budget in 2024, and we also increased it again in 2025. The vast majority of all room tax dollars collected have gone to marketing Marshfield businesses, events, and attractions. This is a lot of words here, but I'll try to go over briefly. we basically did some goals and objectives as part of our business plan. And so I'll just review those from 2024. So we coordinate EDB and work towards goals and objectives. And we've kind of still kept the playbook that worked with Josh Miller together. And I know that the EDB board doesn't exist and not a current staff member in that, but we're still trying to play by the playbook. Work with local sports partners to plan for the future winter sports complex. We've been involved with the Mill Creek project. It's kind of taken a lot of twists and turns. I think it's in a little bit of a holding pattern. Really large price tag attached to it. So we're kind of waiting and hearing to see if there's some way we can help that. Again, be a strong partner on the Second Street Corridor project. I was part of a committee and I really advocated for the tourism-friendly businesses, so was at the table for that. Help lead the Friends of Jurassic Park group and the relocation efforts to keep a major attraction alive. We definitely have pieces in place, and we're kind of waiting on Clyde's timeline and starting a fundraising campaign. One of the reasons I put this on our goals was I'd talked to some folks around the office when I first started, and they said that my predecessor, Sharon Kern, had said that the Foxfire Gardens was one of the top attraction in Marshfield, and unfortunately it just kind of went away. So I think they would host dozens and dozens of weddings every year and bring thousands of visitors. So we don't want to see that happen because Jurassic Park is one of our top attractions for sure. Next on the list was market and cater to the informational needs of medical travelers visiting the Marshfield Medical Center. We have a special link on our homepage, and we've really kind of tailored options that are close to the clinic and stuff need be as far as dining, lodging, entertainment and attractions really to that visitor. Itineraries was next up. We have a dedicated page on our website for itineraries, and we use those a lot. People like to be told what to do. Our Marshfield Made New tourism brand is definitely something we kind of have breathed and lived, just trying to, the brand is important, so trying to stay on brand. We have billboards up that have over 7 million impressions annually. We have over 100,000 website visits and over 200,000 YouTube views of 31 videos we currently have up. You'll learn a little bit more about that later. Again, the signature events, we definitely market those and get people here for Dairy Fest Subsidy Days, the State Fair, and Maple Fall Fest are kind of the core. Again, we like to leverage the downtown business district in all of our marketing and messaging. Again, it's on our website, visitor guide, social media, and you'll learn a little bit more about that later as well. This is the only goal objective we didn't meet on our list, unfortunately. We're trying to increase our Facebook followers from 27,000 to 29,000, but we're at 28,185. And so we missed it by a little bit, but we are up to 28,561 now. I think with some of the analytics and some of the changes of Facebook, it's made it a little bit harder to get people to like you. But then last on our goals was the Smith Travel Research is a company that hotels report to. They report their occupancy, their average, and it's kind of, they all throw it in together anonymously, but then you get reports saying, hey, how are we doing against our competition? And so we have some hotel partners that share that with us so we can kind of see when, oh, there was only 40% occupancy this week, or oh, the hotels are sold out this weekend, great. And so we keep tabs of where the holes are and what's doing well. So yeah, that's kind of overview of our goals and objectives from 2024. I'll go a brief review of statistics. We'll have some more of that later with my marketing partner, Lynn, here. But again, I mentioned we have 28,000 Facebook followers. Just for reference on that, the Wausau CVB has 8,000 followers. Wisconsin Rapids has 4,000 followers, and we're beating the Marshfield Clinic. They have 22,900. So it's definitely an important marketing tool for us, and we're also growing Instagram as well.
Hey, Matt?
Yeah.
When did we start our effort to get Facebook followers? Because there was this one point we didn't have anything.
Yeah, no, it was shortly after I started, I think 2013, 2014. Yeah, we had a couple hundred, and then we really grew it. I think our partnership with Pilcher Barnett has really helped grow that, and we've invested in it a lot. Thanks, Al. Next, again, this is showing just a few more data points there. The one that jumps out at me is there were 3.5 million impressions from Facebook in 2024, which was up 71.2% from the previous year. And then this is the state data that we get for the county, and Marshfield has the majority of the rooms in the hotel rooms in the county. And our visitor spending last year was $115.5 million, and that was up 3.2% from the previous year. Again, supporting over 2,000 jobs, almost 13 million in state and local taxes, and 81 million in labor income. At this time, I'd like to introduce Lynn Pilch from Pilch and Barnett. And she's just going to do a little deeper dive into some of the marketing materials. And she's a strong marketing partner with us, and talk a little bit about how we market our partners and whatnot.
Thanks everyone for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to be here to present. My name is Lynn Pilch with Pilch and Barnett. We've been a partner with Visit Marshfield since 2016 and launched the new brand in 2017 with the Marshfield Made New. One of the things we do look at are grant applications, different ways that we can partner and find new ways to promote this region and look at how to bring travelers to the area. As Corey mentioned, because we're using room tax dollars, our main focus is that heads and beds, getting people to spend the night here in the area. As a result of that, the primary focus of where we market to is Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison. We do some northern Wisconsin, we do some Minnesota, but those are our core markets. And additionally, what we look at for our target demo market is 35 to 44. So when we look through the statistics for all of our marketing, which we create a quarterly report that breaks down all of the marketing that we do each quarter, and we have these going back to when we started working with this organization. So if you have any questions about how the money is spent, what the results are, everything is here down to we spent $50 for a Pinterest ad and what did it net. So this is the Q1 for 2025, and we're working on the Q2 for 2025. That should be out in probably the end of this month, beginning of August. But just to give you a couple ideas of what our focus has been. In 2024, we really wanted to think about, in terms of our messaging, 4 core attractions that we really wanted to present. Those were the Main Street Marshfield, the Wenzel Family Plaza, Wildwood Zoo, and Central Wisconsin State Fair. So we looked at those as being kind of the pillars of the year and how we wanted to message those particular attractions as a way to bring people here overnight. So with that, when we put together a plan, our idea is how much can we stretch that? So we write an article, for example, about Main Street Marshfield. That goes on the website, but then that link for that article goes on social media. And then we boost that with a social media ad budget. That also can get posted, as I mentioned, on Pinterest. It can also be posted in an e-newsletter. So that one piece of content we try to use in multiple different places. With that, we also started to see that YouTube is becoming, well, it is the largest social media platform. It is the #1 way people watch TV and view content today. It is the top platform for how people are spending their time. So with that, we wanted to start to build up a library of video as well as photos that we could use on social media, both Facebook, Instagram, but now also going into YouTube. So in 2024, focusing on those 4 main pillars, we did 158 social media posts specifically on Main Street and Main Street businesses. We did 24 different social media posts on Wenzel Family Plaza. The Wildwood Zoo, we did 23 social media posts, and on Central Wisconsin State Fair, 8 social media posts. So our budget, for example, on the Main Street Marshfield, we spent $39,000 specifically in 2024, just promoting things that were going on in Main Street in Marshfield. In addition to that, we did a series of photo shoots in those key pillars, and then we added on video. So in 2024, these are the places we did photo shoots. We did the Kitchen Table, Mill Creek Gardens, Woodfield Inn and Suites, Lumberyard Bar and Grill, Oddities Manga and Games, Marshfield Clinic, Marshfield Country Club, McMillan Marsh Wildlife Area, Maple Fall Fest, Melody Gardens, Gray Dog Axe Throwing, Downtown Marshfield's Exterior Shots, Jurassic Park, and Wildwood Zoo. knowing that we wanted to do that video series, last year we started getting video, and we got video of Grey Dog axe throwing, board and brush, escape room, the clubhouse, world's largest round barn, tabletop adventures, downtown Jurassic Park Trail, Wenzel Family Plaza, and Marshfield Heritage Museum. So in 2025, we took those videos and we started a video series on YouTube. Now, putting a video out isn't going to get a lot of interest. You have to boost those posts. So in 2025, we did our Marshfield Made New Attractions video series. So each month we did a new video that we both launched and then posted and boosted. So for example, we did the Attractions District, January 15th to January 31st. It received 38,400 impressions and 24,200 views. So one of the things that we've been thinking about is that winters here have been pretty soft. There just hasn't been snow. So like we really wanted to think about how can we bring people here even if there isn't snow in the winter. So we focused on that Attractions District, both to bring business to the area and also to have something to talk about in the winter that wasn't snow dependent. So throughout the year so far, we've done the Marshfield Heritage Museum, Wenzel Family Plaza, Jurassic Park, Round Barn, and Wildwood Zoo. The host of this series is Nikki from the Wenzel Family Plaza. So she kind of brings you in, does a little explanation about that area or that attraction, and invites people to come to Marshfield to take part in those attractions. Overall, the total campaign numbers to date are 477,046 impressions and 285,042 views, which makes the overall view rate on those ads at 60%. And the average benchmark for travel and tourism ads on YouTube is 15 to 33%. So these ads are getting really good exposure for the amount of money that we're putting on there, and those are going to continue into the next year. So,
Lynn,
yes.
I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But does everyone on the council know what an impression is?
I don't.
Yeah, an impression would be somebody seeing the ad, and then a view is somebody watching the ad. Yes. Thanks, Al. I do get into marketing speak sometime and forget that everybody cares about it as much as I do. Fair enough. So with nearly 60% of video on demand, we are well above the travel industry average. And because of that, that series is being expanded. And so we're doing a shoot, I think, next week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks. And with that, we're doing, where we so far have done Powers Bluff, but we're doing Melody Gardens, Roman Cinema 8, the Water Aquatic Center, Chestnut Center for the Arts, the George W. Meade Wildlife Area, and the Rudolph Grotto Gardens. In addition to that, we have done photo shoots at Uptown Coffee Company, Hotel Marshfield, Libby McNeil's, Wenzel Family Plaza, Cultural Fair at UW Stevens Point, Powers Bluff, Dairy Fest, the Daily Grind, Weber Park Nature Trail, Bram Park, Northwood County Park, River's Edge Golf Course, Seahafer Farm Creamery, Belvedere Supper Club, and Buccaneers Supper Club, Blue Harbor Brew Club, and Hub City Days. So with all of this, we're trying to get as much content as we can to support the businesses and the different attractions in town. The other thing that we are launching this year is a new filter system on our restaurants. So as Matt mentioned, we want to make sure that we're also catering to people coming here for medical travel. And one of the things that we get a lot of feedback on is people looking for specific types of like gluten-free or vegan, different types of food preferences that they might have. And so we're going to be completing that in Q3 to have all of the restaurants, and Bethany's been working very hard to collect all of the different filters that we'll be able to put on that. Last bit, I'm trying to go fast so if you have questions, you can certainly ask me after. But even after an abbreviated winter where Powers Bluff was only open for a short period of time, our Q1 numbers on the website this year still outperformed last year's. And we really feel it was adding that video project. And so that video project is continuing. Overall, we had 897,220 impressions on the website, of which 40% was organic. The other 60% came from advertising. Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison were our 3 top markets, and 35 to 44 was the key top market of the website visits. So overall, the marketing that we've been doing focused on those demographics has been evident in the actual traffic that we're seeing on the website. And we're really excited to continue to show people on different platforms all of the things that they can do here in the Marshfield area. If you have questions, and I went over kind of fast, just let me know. Thanks. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. So this is for the money that we spent on the different pillars for 2024. So for Wenzel Family Plaza, we spent a total of $16,800. Wildwood Zoo was $13,600, and Central Wisconsin State Fair is $5,600. So with all of the advertising and placements that we make, we invoice all of that through our business. So all of the advertising that's done, whether it be for Facebook, YouTube, any other banner ads or things that we might place, magazines, et cetera, those invoice through us, and then we invoice in one invoice to Visit Marshfield. So all of that is included in our invoices. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I hope you guys had enough data. We don't have too much more data there. But next up, I just want to talk about, we did just kind of give out our grants for 2025. And so I won't read through the whole list here, but it's sporting events, different festivals, and we gave out we gave out 15,500 to these grant recipients. And that's not just what we do just for them, but some other marketing stuff that we've done outside of Pilch & Barnett stuff too is I spoke with Hub City Days, and we decided to do a billboard campaign for them. So right now there's 10 billboards throughout central Wisconsin, and we spent $2,900 on that. And then we also did some additional advertising and stuff for Dairy Fest. We used Zaleski Sports. I thought it was a good family model to track folks. And then we had our WIFC kickoff where Lois got the kid snuck in and hit the thing, but we really just talked about Dairy Fest. So Visit Marshfield paid for both of those activities, and there was around $2,000. Okay. Well, one of my board members wanted me to talk about the future challenges we have with no current tourism amenity agreement. So we currently would need to renew our office space lease, but are hesitant to do that without a current agreement. It's also a challenge for our 2026 budget. It's a challenge for our marketing contract with our marketing partners, Pilch & Barnett. The funding for the plaza as well is question mark. Even planning for Maple Fall Fest 2026, as well as our 2026 visitor guide. So really would like to get something in place here pretty soon so we can kind of keep going on with our business. Now, the future is bright. And I'm going to talk about the very near future because this weekend, the Dairyland Balloon Jubilee is happening along with the parish poll. And so I was just actually talking to Cora. She says her hotel is filled. And so that is great to hear. I know that the balloon people are bringing over 80 people that just do the balloons, and they're staying in the hotels with their families. And we're expecting 15 to 20,000 people. We're really excited. We talked with this group for over 2 years and showed them different locations where they could host it and introduced them to the Seehafer Farms. And they decided they liked it there. And then Visit Marshfield is also one of the major sponsors. So I don't think the Dairyland Balloon Jubilee would be be here without us, as well as many other partners. Again, like I mentioned before, Jurassic Park, that's going to be something that could be really huge. I know it's a little bit of a waiting game, but that's something that we want to be really involved in and make sure that that is a huge splash and we don't lose that great attraction for Marshfield. Also, I think this was brought up at a previous council meeting. We do have some interest earned on our money in the bank right now, and we're going to do a grant program for that. So that's something that's in the works. As Lynn had mentioned too, more videos, more photo shoots. And then we recently talked about this at board meeting. We're going to try to do a bit more on the attracting meetings, weddings, and sports events. There's actually we're taking part in a what's called a sports fam tour. And so working with some other partners from around the state that we're going to hopefully get a few dozen sports rights holders. So the people that run the tournaments are going to come to Wisconsin. And then they're gonna, if they have destinations such as like pickleball or court sports like volleyball and basketball, they're gonna go to the different destinations and tour them. And if they run tournaments, we can maybe get some new people. So I'll be very involved in that. And we're gonna meet them in Madison and then drive them around and show them the different facilities. And again, the new pickleball courts are great. The new Columbus addition there. And we've got some other great amenities that we can show these people that like to run tournaments around the country. Let's see here. All right, so I guess just kind of in closing, some final thoughts. We've made major donations over the last couple of years, $20,000 to the fair in 2024 to help with their electrical repairs. We committed $4,675 towards some historical signage just recently, and also paid $73,000 towards the pickleball project in 2025. And then, as I had mentioned before, we're continuing using that roadmap from the economic development that we've had for the last few years. And then just touching on room tax collection, when I came on board in 2012, our room tax collection for Visit Marshfield was $165,000 and change. And then in 2024, we set a new record of over $501,000. So we more than tripled collections in that time. And then I did just receive notice that we had a new record room tax collection for the first quarter of 2025, which is just being tabulated at $114,261, and that's up 16.7% from last year. So I think at this time, I'll open up to questions, or Lois can have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Next, item F, council questions and discussions. Any of the council members would like to turn your lights on and ask any questions? Alderman Dallas?
Thank you. Question for you. I know that you paid over $120,000 to your colleague next to you. What are you doing in-house? Are you shipping all of the promotional items, all the advertising? Are you doing it through them?
No, we actually work together on the marketing plans and the projects. So some like when we're putting together the social media development and stuff, we do it together. And then we basically, they pay for the ads and we work on them together. And so the 120,000, like 70% of it is actually paying for the ads on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. So it's not going directly to Pilcher Barnett. They're paying it and we're paying them back.
Okay. Are you using like any of the locals for the videos or the radio stations here in town? Like, for example, the city of Marshfield has our own communications department.
Yeah.
Are you using them at all to help videotape these, or are you allowing them to do it all?
We have a specialized tourism video group, but I am actually on the communications committee. And so I work with Tom. And so we've been talking back and forth about different ways that we could work together locally here too. And we do local advertising. We've Hub City Times. We had our Best in Marshfield in that. And then we work with the WIFC group and send out press releases to like WBLB and all the local partners.
Alderman Tompkins?
All right, bear with me. I have a lot of questions. First is actually a question for our lawyer. I'm wondering if, so during the presentation, it's someone mentioned that 70% of the money that's given to a tourism entity needs to be spent on promotion. And I'm wondering if you know about that in state statute. Oh, they said for tourism promotion, tourism development.
That was part of, so the statute that governs that was part of the distribution that Administrator Barg had provided. So that's 66.0 615, and that is covered by the statute in terms of how that must be spent. There becomes, I mean, in terms of the interpretation of what that means, that's a very broad thing. But yes, that's the statutory provision, basically requires how a city can, take in the room tax and how it has to be spent.
Okay, so it says, thank you for pointing it to here. So it says the tourism promotion, tourism development means any of the following that are significantly used. I'm gonna jump down a bit. Marketing projects, advertising, informational services, convention centers. So, one of the things I've heard is that Visit Marshfield can only spend money on marketing. But obviously Visit Marshfield has also helped with some of our infrastructure that people actually go to see. The pickleball court lights, you helped with an electrical thing for the fair. That's all infrastructure that you've helped with that isn't marketing per se. So how do you decide what you're going to spend your money on that's marketing versus we need to help out because otherwise no one's going to show up in Marshfield because they're going to have great YouTube videos show up and say, oh my gosh, that was from 10 years ago. This place is a pit.
Yeah, I can take that one. I think that's kind of where it falls under the tourism development. And it's like, if it's an attraction that we see that would likely draw visitors and overnight visitors, that's something that we could invest in. And I know the pickleball ran the first tournament, and we're expecting about 40 teams. They had over 90 teams. I know some of them stayed in hotels from all around the state. And then same thing with the Central Wisconsin State Fair, of course.
So I love that falls within that and that you are capable of helping with tourism development. How much of your budget every year is allocated to that?
I think it's usually on a project by project basis. So I don't, we have at one time, I think, had 25 or 50,000 put in the budget, but I think it really kind of depends on the projects that we have lined up. We didn't have the 73,000 in pickleball for budget, but we.
Okay, so it's not, potentially it's not part of your long-term goals then? I feel like if it was in your goals, it would be in your budget, but it sounds like it just sort of comes up as kind of emergency funding.
I think if we find a project, 2 projects we've been talking about, such as like 2 sheets for hockey or the Jurassic Park relocation, I think that's some stuff that we would put in the budget if everything comes together.
Can I add something? So one of the challenges to getting heads in beds here is how to get people to come to Marshfield. We don't have a lake, we don't have a Lambeau field. So the reason for room taxes to promote and I mean, a couple of sheets of ice would really make a big difference here. So and we've talked about that with some entities and it just didn't come to pass. We've done sports, we had sports study done here to see where what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What should we spend the money on? So it is absolutely on a case by case basis. And we're always waiting for something to present itself that we can afford to do that's going to get the job done. So for being a hotelier, I can say right now, we don't need any help filling our hotels on weekends in the summer. We need help in the winter time. So anything that we could spend money on that we could build or we could put here that would get people to come and stay overnight is where I would think we would love to spend a majority of that 70%.
Okay. I am going to yield the floor. I have more questions, but I'm sure some of these questions are going to be my fellow council members have as well. So I have more, but let others.
Okay, Derek, we're gonna have Hap go first and you can go second and then Jen Dallas will go third. Is that okay with you? Thank you.
I just want to walk through on the statute, the question that you asked, and I responded to it, but I want everybody, because you've got a handout there that has that statutory provision. And so I think it'll help to see that. And Andy probably has already done this, but All right, so you've got that in front of you, it's 66.0615. And if you turn to the next page, there's a reference in parentheses, 1M. So that would be the statutory reference, the 66.0615, 1M. And then if you go all the way down to sub D, all right, so that's on the third page, if you see about a third of the way up is D, and it reads, a municipality that first imposes a room tax after May 13th spend at least 70% of the amount collected on tourism promotion and tourism development. So the point is, when you got your room tax, the agreement is providing that 70% of that income is going to, and if you read through that next part of that section, you have to spend 70% of the revenue on tourism promotion and tourism development. And then it goes on to say that any amount of room tax collected must be spent on tourism promotion, that must be spent on tourism promotion and tourism development, that's that 70%, shall be either forwarded to the commission, if there's a tourism commission, or if the municipality has created if the municipality has created a commission, or forwarded to a tourism entity. And that's what Visit Marshfield is really acting at. And that's how we contract them, is because by statute, we have to use one of those entities to carry out that design to provide for tourism promotion and tourism development. And so when we talk about what they're doing their funds with, their funds are really used to do either one of those things, but they're using their money to do that. It's 70% of the room tax that goes to them to be able to allow them to do that. Just so you understand how that reads and where that's coming from by statute and why we have a contract with them.
Thank you.
Alderman Mormon?
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Excellent. Apologies I couldn't be there in person, but thank you all for the presentation. It's definitely fantastic to hear from everyone and get a little bit of insight. I wanted to ask just a couple of quick marketing questions. Number one was, I heard you mention the ads running in bigger places like Chicago, Madison. I think the other one was Milwaukee. I don't know if those are the only locations. I was curious that I didn't hear like Minneapolis on the list, given that it's probably about the same distance or pretty close. So I was kind of curious what the driver was there for those certain locations. If we've looked and that certain distance, I know we said heads and beds, but I'm curious if like we decided on so many miles is what determines, or so many hours. And then if we have the statistics on like our success rate for that, like not just our impressions and our views, but do we know how many people are actually coming from, Chicago and staying in hotels here based on our advertisements or festivals or things like that?
I mean, take it, or do you want to do it?
How about I'll start and I'll probably pass over to Lynn here, but really I think we find that visitors will likely stay overnight if it's over 2 hours away. 2 to 3 hours is kind of the sweet spot for getting someone to stay overnight from my knowledge and marketing information. And I think it's really hard to get the data for some of the overnights. We have in the past done some smartphone location things that show you where for some people are out of the market, but it hasn't fully connected through the hotels. But I can probably turn it over to Lynn now too.
So we work in concert with the hoteliers on the committee when we put the budget together. And so yes, Minnesota and Minneapolis, but also Rochester. I mean, we have other markets. Those are just the top 3 performing of the ones that we do. So we look at Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison as our top 3. But we also do all of Wisconsin, and then we do, depending on the season, a little bit of Iowa and a little bit of Minnesota. It's just that when we look back with the hoteliers to match up who's staying versus where we're also getting the most traction. So for example, if we do an ad campaign in Chicago, we can tell the impressions are higher than say the click-throughs in Minnesota. So therefore we know that that's a warmer market for us. So we're gonna put more of our focus onto a market that maybe has already heard of us or already has some interest in that drive. Whereas we know that Iowa, for example, is more of an emerging market for us. We're going to go in there. It's going to cost a little bit more to get the number of impressions because they're not as much of a traveler already coming to the region based on the overnight data that we get from the STAR report and then from our travel partners. So we work directly with the hoteliers in putting the budget together and through strategic planning.
And I can speak to the market. We track everything. We track the market segments, where they come from, who's looking at us. And for 12 years, I can say that's pretty accurate. It's mostly within Wisconsin. Chicago guests are hitting Lake Geneva and Door County for the most part. Minnesota, we really don't see a lot there. So 2 to 3 hour drive for the most part. A lot of it is Wisconsin. The clinic drives some of that, obviously. I've tried to market the bus tours a lot of times, and I've been told over the years that we're not on a major freeway. So if you're on I-20, if you're on 29, you're probably going to get it. And I think that's got something to do with maybe some of the Minnesota stuff as well, that it's not dropping down to Marshfield.
Yeah, I make that drive all the time. I can definitely attest that last segment of that highway is awful. And that was going to kind of lead to my next question, and then I'll yield the floor. And that was really just, what do you see our city being known for in terms of drawing people in? Because I just had a conversation with someone recently, and I said our largest detriment for economic development, in my opinion, is that exactly that. We're not off a major freeway or anything. So getting here, you have to have a purpose for coming to Marshfield. You know, it's not something like you're just passing by and you're like, oh, hey, this looks like a cute little town. Let's swing in there. And I don't know that we have that thing yet. And I'm curious, as a group who is studying this and doing this market research, what you think our thing is, or to challenge you, and it doesn't have to be answered today, I would be curious what you think our thing should be. Because I feel like we need some sort of draw. I think, you know, I think Ms. Spiros mentions this all the time, that like in however many years the city hasn't grown. And I think a big part of it is that we don't have that thing to offer to people to say like, hey, this is a destination city outside of the clinic or possibly, you know, good schools or things like that you could mention. But from that tourism type perspective, I don't think there's anything that draws you here. And I was trying to compare it to like Appleton, you know, like I can't think of anything in Appleton that really makes me go there outside of, oh, that's like the closest Costco, or occasionally my kids like to go to the Fox River Mall there. But outside of that, there's nothing that makes me say like, oh, hey, I should drive to Appleton today. And it's not something I pass where I'm like, oh, let's just swing in while we're going this way. So those are the two things that I think draw me there. And I just don't think that we have that yet. And so I'm curious as a group what you think that is for us, or what you think it could/should be. And again, if you don't have an answer today, I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's something that I would like us to think about as collaborating groups as we move forward.
Okay, I'll jump in and then open the floor to anybody else here. I really think like the Marshfield Clinic, as you mentioned, is kind of what we're known for, and a draw. And then on our website stuff is events. Events are drawing the eyeballs. And then I think one thing in Appleton is that new sports complex they built. Oh my gosh, every weekend there's hundreds of teams there. So if we could do something like that, I mean, you know, they fill dozens of hotels with hockey tournaments and different things like that. Like, you know, we don't have the natural attractions of the Dells or the Door County, and so you kind of have to make some of those attractions. And I think the sports market is something there. Again, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of work, but it's kind of like making some places doesn't have a natural attraction and an attraction. Lynn or anybody else?
Yeah, so when you're talking about having that one thing, you know, Marshfield doesn't necessarily have one thing. So when I was talking about having those like pillar attractions, we try to pull that together and basically say, we can help you make a 2-3 day stay here. So for example, with Jurassic Park, right? If we can get that family, which we're looking at 35 to 44, to come up on a Friday, spend the night, Saturday, hit Jurassic Park, hit the zoo, you know, do something at Wenzel Family Plaza, like then we're getting them to stay Saturday night. Usually there's an event involved. The music that they program is, again, a great way to get people to stay. But we also have done, Bethany keeps up with all of the different live music that's in town so that we can keep a live music schedule. Again, just things that make people want to spend the night so that they don't want to drive, say at 5 o'clock and head home, that they take that second overnight. And then we, you know, understand that they'd be leaving, say, on Sunday. So we really especially look at that, as Corey was mentioning, during those shoulder season times. So summertime, not as high of a priority for us. In the winter, Powers Bluff would be a big draw, but Powers Bluff hasn't been a reliable attraction for us. So we're trying to find those things and try to show them instead of tell them. And that's why we're looking at the video series. So people see Jurassic Park, think, well, I got to see that in person. And that's something that's, I mean, as just as interesting to a 21-year-old as it is to like a 6-year-old, right? So we can really look at families marketing that, as well as, you know, a Gen Alpha or, you know, Gen Z on it.
And I think one of the key pieces is building those itineraries where it's multi-day. And we do also do some of that with our partners in Stevens Point and Wisconsin Rapids. We have the Central Wisconsin Tourism Association. And so we say, we know you might not spend 2 or 3 days in Marshfield, but if you hit up Stevens Point, Wisconsin Rapids, and Marshfield, you know, stay a night in each place, maybe on certain itineraries.
It is the $25,000 question, why come to Marshfield? And I can tell you that as a overall market, we haven't been running 50% occupancy more than that for the city since pre-COVID. So there's a lot of rooms left open. And the RFPs that I know we personally get, they're looking for, you know, 300 rooms and all this ballroom space. And, you know, if hotels worked together, maybe you could get it done, but nobody wants to have rooms over here, over there, and over here, and then go here. So getting some of those bigger reasons to get somebody here, we don't have the rooms or the space. And what I have found since we opened is we are 2 hours from everything. So we've been able to capture some association business that will stay in one hotel, because, you know, it used to be the Dells, Madison, or Milwaukee. So if you live in Eagle River, you're always going to be making that drive. So being central definitely helps us. And I think sports is probably the way to go. And, you know, some of the things that we've put here, and I'll just mention the zoo and the bears. Nobody's coming and staying overnight to see the zoo. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. There's a couple wonderful things here, but they're not staying overnight just for that one thing. So I think they kind of tied that together with Jurassic or some sports. Sports, anytime there's sports teams in town, the baseball, they go crazy. Everybody's full, everybody's busy. So that's something that I think we could not easily, but that makes most sense for us since we're not going to dig a lake.
I've said many times that, you know, for the future, we got to build it. You know, if we want an attraction, we have to build it, because it's not naturally here. Whether it's a hockey arena with a couple of sheets of ice or more ball fields, we have to build it. That's how we're going to get them. And we've done the studies. Sports are a huge attraction. I've stayed in hotels up in the Twin Cities a couple of times over the last month, and hotels are full with families there for sporting events, for tournaments for their children. And they're booking multiple rooms because they're bringing their whole family. You know, they're not just bringing 1 or 2 people. Everybody is coming along, but we realize that it has to be built. We have to invest in something to get people to come here long term.
And one more thing I feel like I should just note too. We did some surveying early in launching this brand, and one of the things that kind of shocked us, but also like really set the tone for where we needed to go, is there was a segment of the population that didn't realize Marshfield was a town. They just thought Marshfield was the name of a clinic. So we had to do a lot of marketing in the early part of this to just let people know the city is Marshfield. It's not just Marshfield is a clinic. So we feel really happy that we've sort of crossed path that initial challenge to at least start to get people to know, like, okay, well, we are separate from the clinic as a community that has all of these other things to do. But without that other unifying major attraction, that is the thing that we're most known for.
And there's more than one Marshfield in this country. I have reservations in Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts, there's one in Missouri.
There's a lot of them.
Derek, one thing I would like to add, and I'm new sitting here at the table, but I'm not new with the business side of working with small businesses. You know, Chris and I alone the last 17 years, or I'm sorry, 7 years, helped 17 small businesses. So I would definitely say the niche that we have for this community is we're a city of opportunity. A lot of people who consider coming here, they're also considering, you know, Rapids, Marshfield, I'm sorry, Rapids, Wausau, and Point. And one of the biggest questions I get is how well does the city work with you? And that's one of the questions that they will determine on whether or not they want to come here. Obviously, yes, we have the clinic. I think I've heard that even though we have a population of almost 20,000, bringing in close to an additional because of the surrounding. So I guess to kind of go off of what Al was saying, that we do have to build it in order to get people to be here. And I think it's a good problem to have because we have a pool out there of people who can tell us right now what we want. And just the other day on Facebook, I asked people in general, ask your children, don't tell me what you want, tell me what your kids want. And the majority said trampoline park, mini golf, working with small businesses. There's a lot of hurdles you have to go through, as you guys all know. So I think if we can build things and encourage and incentivize to, you know, encourage small businesses to build here, which will essentially benefit those who live here, but they will also attract people to come here. So I think we need to listen to our community and kind of listen to what they want, and also continue to do what Visit Marshfield is doing, which is to highlight those businesses that are already here. So I think that it's not one solution. I think there's multiple things, but essentially, like Al was saying, build it and they will come.
Alderman Dillis?
Great.
Thank you. Marshfield had a, I'm gonna say, I believe it was a semi-pro soccer team that didn't even last one season here. Nobody knew about it. I'm just kind of questioning, like, we keep saying if they build it, we come, and I understand that summer is not a hot topic for you guys, that you're focused on winter. But I think that because the ball was dropped on that, we could have, don't you think we could have expanded that into a hockey team, like a semi-pro, whatever hockey team, to draw those people in, rather than lose it to Wausau?
I think you might be referencing the semi-pro football team.
No, it was a soccer team. They played at the high
There
school.
currently is a
last
soccer team,
summer.
the Conquerors, that have in the last couple of seasons, and they're doing pretty well.
They just announced that they were in Wausau. Their home base is now in Wausau.
Did they just move it? I haven't heard.
This year. It was, yeah, it was announced a while ago, but nobody knew that they were even here. The only reason that my family even found out about the fact they were here is because my granddaughter plays soccer, and they announced it on the grade school kids soccer field that there was a semi-pro team here, and they were encouraging the kids to go visit, but nobody else knew they were even around. And because of the lack of support, they left and went to Wausau.
We actually just gave a grant to them and had a player and their director at our tourism banquet about a month ago. And so I'm not sure if it's the same team or not.
I'm actually going to yield my chair. I'm sorry, Jen. I'm going to yield my chair to Brian because I have a couple comments to make about the Conquerors, which is the team that you're talking about. Is that okay?
Please do.
All the time. Okay. The Wisconsin Conquerors started their bid last year, which is actually a football team. That's what they call themselves, but they are a soccer team, okay? And they play at the Hiding Field. They are also playing here again this year, and they are represented by Marshfield. Maybe where you got a little bit of a miscommunication, they played in Wausau over the winter because they were in Greenhack Fieldhouse, because obviously you can't play soccer in the winter outside. So they transitioned over there for the winter time. I had just talked to the owner, and he said that they are back in Marshfield again because there is no place in Wausau good enough's not the right word. What they want to be represented by themselves. So that might be, Jen, where you're seeing a little different situation. Because like I said, I just talked to the owner and they have 6 games here at Hiding. The rest of the games are all over the United States. So they are definitely still in the ball game. It's really too bad that they don't have extra funds to promote themselves. They are just brand new. This gentleman started this all by himself. And I know that you guys, thank you again for giving them another $1,000 grant this year like you did last year. I have been tirelessly working to tell and get people to understand that we do have a semi-pro soccer team here, which eventually will be a soccer team, will be a pro soccer team. The reason they chose Marshfield is because Edo's, who is the owner, looked all over the state and decided Marshfield was the most trusted city to be in. They have the university where they can practice, and they have their means to go inside of there, and Hiding Field, which is the most beautiful place to play soccer. Please, if you get a chance to go to a soccer game, you will be blown away. It is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jen, because here we get to do a little bit more dig. Can you tell me where you found that out, that WASA now has taken over?
Actually, it was online. After last soccer season for the youth, my son actually told me, hey, did you know we had a semi-pro soccer team here? So we looked it up and it did say online that their headquarters was in Wausau. That's all we've heard of it since. So I'm glad they're back then, but it brings me kind of to my point that what are we doing about it? Like, there's no advertising, there's no promotion. You say build it and they will come, but we tried to build it and nobody still knows about it, is kind of my point. We had the opportunity, I understand from a hockey team that they were willing to come here, but I don't really know. I'm not gonna say why they didn't, because it's all
We don't have a hockey facility that could accommodate that.
But yeah, you're right.
We don't.
But either way, I mean, we build it, they will come, but part of what I heard from the person that runs the hockey team, or that was gonna run the hockey team, is that we didn't promote the soccer team. What makes them think we're gonna promote a hockey? It's just hearsay. This is what the person told me. I can't say that is the honest to God truth or not. That is just what I'm hearing on the backside, so.
Okay, so one more time to reiterate, it actually is a Marshfield team, but again, in the winter, then they transitioned over to Wausau because or I should say DC Everest, yeah. So that's where you saw that. And I'm not sure if Edo's has updated the website yet, but I know they do have, like I said, 6 games, yeah. So again, I've been promoting this on Facebook, everything that I can, talking to people, and hopefully more people will take this under advisement. These kids are great. I mean, in the wintertime, of course, they can't have college kids because they're all in school. So these are young people doing this, and it is, wow. If you've ever been to Green Hack Fieldhouse, you would not believe what happens there. It's like magic. I mean, I was able to sing the national anthem in this great big room, and then all these kids come out and they play soccer. It's the coolest darn thing ever. So hopefully we as a community can get behind them. Obviously, he has to start his own ball.
I understand.
No pun intended, but we have to grab on with him as a force. So, and I don't really know how to do that, Jen, and I feel bad because that's something that, if we don't, it's gonna get lost, but more of us that do it, so that would
And I can tell you this, if we can find a way to promote them and to bring people to town, we're doing our job, So we gotta figure out what's that nexus, to bring people to town to see them, play. And part of it, I think you're right, Lois, they gotta invest in themselves too, but I know they gotta get some critical mass, but you and I were there opening night last year, and it was a good product. I enjoyed it. They got toasted, but it's their first year, and they're young kids, and I think the oldest player was like maybe a sophomore in college.
Right.
And they had a number of players that are local, that go to UW Stevens Point, which was very attractive. But if we could figure out how we can get people to come here, spend the night, great. But even better if we can get hockey, because like we know we can fill. our hotels are full in the summertime. We're fine in the summer. We need winter. You know, how could we get people to come here in the wintertime? And hockey would be a great vehicle for that.
It would be, but I think if we supported what we had now, that it would expand that to allow more teams to want to be here.
Yeah, and if we are absent promoting this soccer team, that's probably it. Because we're huge, we've been huge in baseball. We've been huge in sports, you know, here. You know, maybe there is an opportunity to go talk to them, but it's,
Well,
Not the only-
as I recall it, I remember it being announced, and I was really excited about it. Like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need. And they picked Marshfield. Awesome. And then it just disappeared. It never came up. I don't know. It was just gone. And then I saw on the news, well, they're in Wausau now. So communication, whatever,
And I'm not,
I didn't see it, but it didn't present itself anymore.
please understand, I'm not trying to lay it all on you, that
Yeah.
you should be promoting it. I'm just saying, we keep hearing, if we build it, if we have this facility, if we do this, then they'll come. And we had that opportunity, and I feel somehow we dropped the ball on promoting it as a city, as, you know, all of us dropped the ball on it, that it's not quite as big. And I understand if it's not your focus, summer events are not your focus, great, but it's a stepping stone.
No,
And I
it's-
think that needs to be looked at, and I think if you're gonna promote Jurassic Park as much as you do, and the Wildwood Zoo as much as you do, stuff like that should be promoted just as heavy.
Yeah, I know we have had Conquerors games on our events page. I can review and see if we need to update the schedule, but any events and activities happening that, you know, we dig, and Bethany does a great job of digging through Facebook. We ask partners to email us. We try to put everything out there that will be appealing to visitors.
And then my last question for you, well, one of my last questions for you right now, I have a lot of them too, but for right now, what do you consider research and development? What are you working on towards research?
A lot of it's travel. I go to a Wisconsin Association of Convention Visitors Bureaus. We meet every other month, and we really just talk about partners and education. So we're talking about, like, you know, hey, I had this group, you know, they're looking to go somewhere else. And then we share leads, and then we educate on what's the latest in technology. There's a lot of AI going on. Some other things I do is I meet with meeting planners and maybe have lunch with them and just try to, you know, solicit them to come to Marshfield. And so that's a majority of the development.
Brooks study?
What was that?
Brooks study?
I think that's
research.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some research and development with Roger Brooks and a couple other partners too.
Okay, and then just because you just reminded me of one other thing I want to bring up. We talked about a convention center, and I'm under the impression that you plan on building one at the fairground. Is that accurate? Is that not accurate?
I've been involved in some of the Fair Commission meetings, and I know there's been a big plan to really redevelop the center. And then I heard recently there's about a $2 million project. We haven't really been approached as a Visit Marshfield regarding that project or funding for that. So we're not building a convention center.
Thank you.
Are you done, Alderman Ellis? Alderman Tompkins?
Thank you. I'm going to be referring to the 2024 Visit Marshfield Business Plan. First of all, just some clarification questions. When we have a budget for strategic marketing, and then we have another budget for marketing medians and spends, and then we have convention and sports, and then we have admin expenses. Are these all separate budgets? Do these overlap in any way?
They actually overlap. If you look at like the, let me see here, just to try to explain it. So we had $35,000 for the promotion budget. And then the total marketing of attractions was $70,000. Then we added those two together for $105,000.
Okay, so page 1 and 2 is added here. Page 1, page 2. Okay, and then that adds up to 105.
Correct.
And then what about the next page?
The mediums, this is kind of how we're spending that money. And I think I actually had a typo there where it should be 105 and I put 115.
I noticed that. Okay, good.
I apologize for that one.
Okay. And so that 105 is coming from page 2, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's really, we're talking about the different programs, the different people we market to, and the different demographics and market areas. So it's kind of the same money doing those three different things.
Okay. So the total so far is 105. And then on page 5, I actually think that total is supposed to be 315, not 445.
The total on the bottom there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I did this quite a while ago. Can I review it a little bit more and get back to you? I apologize.
Yep. So okay, so these two budgets, so I've got the 105 on page 3, and then I've got the 445, maybe it's 315 on page 5. Are those overlapping at all?
I think what I did is I took the 105, added it to this last column here. And so that's where it gets the 445, is the 105 plus these other categories.
Oh,
I can dig into it a little bit more and
okay.
Make sure.
So is that saying that your operating expenses potentially are every year at about the 400K-ish?
For the total spend, yeah, we're usually with 400,000 to 500,000 has been our annual budget.
Okay. So how much for the marketing company, the Flitch and Barnett, how much are you contracted at? Is there a budget for how much you will spend, for ads, but then also for your employee time?
So we have a broken down budget that breaks down all of the different expenses, and then our invoices match that budget. So we can get you an invoice plus the budget, and you can see how they line up.
Are you given a budget every year? Like you can spend this much money on ads?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we get, like, this is what the target is for the budget, and then we work as a committee to put that together. So we put together a draft based on the marketing initiatives that we talk with, the committee like Corey on, what they saw this past year, maybe things that we're concerned about, for example, winter being one that we're, a little bit more nervous about with the lack of snow. So we might change our marketing plan with that based on those. And then that gets approved by the committee and then put into the full budget.
Okay. So apart from the money you pay for ads, how much money comes into your company from Visit Marshfield a year?
Our retainer is the $15,000.
So because I'm looking on the 2024 account statements, and $144,000 was given to your company. So are you saying $15,000 was only for your employee expenses?
That's our retainer fee. And then the rest of it, we break it down by the ad portion, the e-newsletters, the website. So it's all line itemed out. But our retainer fee is the $15,000. But I can get you an itemized budget of everything that comes into us versus advertising. That we have that as an itemized budget.
Yeah, that'd be great. So all that you spend outside of your company for fees, and then what you're actually charging Visit Marshfield. Yep. Do you have a ballpark for that?
No, but I mean, I could look it up.
Because $144,000 a year. So how much do you think you spent for advertisements?
I have some of those numbers from 2024. So the marketing spend was $117,678.
Okay. So $117,000 was spent on ad fees.
Correct.
Okay. When you chose this marketing company, did you as a board go through a bid process, an RFP process? Did you do any sort of thing like that?
I actually talked to 2 or 3 different firms, and through my CVB association that I mentioned before, I had partners that worked with some different firms, and I talked to them, and I brought Pilch and Barnett to the table and had my board discuss with them, and they kind of rose to the top.
Okay, so you didn't have like a request for proposals and have different companies propose what they could do for you?
No, not at that time.
Okay. Who do you use for your accounting? Who's your accountant?
The Chamber and Whiffley help us with accounting.
Okay, and when was your last audit?
We do reviews. We haven't had a formal audit in a while. I think it's, we were told with 501Cs that it's just it's not something that's commonly done because it's so expensive.
So when you do a review, is it an external review or an internal review?
I believe it's external Whiffley.
With me, okay. And do they give you a report? Do you have a copy of that report last time you had a review?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I don't have it with me right now.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, I think those are all my questions. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Alderman Dillis?
Thank you. I was looking over your budget or your general ledger, and there is a lot of payments to Mackey that look like they're almost doubled on the same day. So for example, on 3/12 of 24, there was a payment that went to them for $49.0362. And then right underneath that is one for $49.8782. And there's several months that it looks like they're getting the same amount, but a penny off. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, the payments that, I'm not exactly sure where you're referencing on the.
Oh, I'm sorry, on your regular ledger.
Okay, was that on the, okay, I think, was that part of this one right here?
Yes, on that.
Okay.
And if you look at, for example, on page 3, I just grabbed just one of random ones. No, that was on page 2 of that, I'm sorry, of the general ledger.
Page 2, okay.
And then, like, it starts at 3/12 of 24. There's a Mackey payment for $1,100, and then right underneath that, it says $49.0362. And right underneath that is $49.8782.
Yeah, I see what you're referencing. So we actually, our payroll goes through Mackey. So we pay rent at their office space, and we have an agreement with them that they will run our payroll for us. And so that's the 1,100 is the rent that we pay for Mackey, which includes some services.
Okay.
And then the other are the payroll for myself and my staff.
So on 3/12, you had payroll for $49.0362 and $49.87.
I think that was a
Can I have
catch.
your job?
I think that was a catch up.
Oh, okay.
I think that was from a previous month.
Because there's, I mean, even like on 7/10, so on page 4, on 7/10, there's $5,700 or $5,078.75, and right underneath that is the exact same amount on the same day.
I think that's because it's going back and forth. Like they're charging us, we're paying it back. I'm not too familiar with how the general ledger works.
Okay, because they're both under the credit column, so
Okay.
I don't see anything going out in that amount. It's just, or coming in, I should say, in that amount, it's going out. And there's several, I mean.
I think what it is, they're not charging they're like, basically, we're on their payroll. And then when they reimburse themselves and we review the data, then it's happening like every other month.
Well, it's every month, and it's like even on 10/15, it's the same exact thing. There was on 10/15, there was 3 transactions, all to Mackey. One was $5,077.46 or 47. Next one was $5,077.46, and the next one was $5,073.88.
I can get with my accounting person and just make sure to.
I'm just curious because
clarify it.
there's a lot of them in here.
Okay, yeah, thank you for it. It looks a little bit confusing, but I'll see if we can straighten it out. Thanks.
What else does Mackey, you said they pay your payroll. What else do they do for you over there?
So we rent office space, we share phone systems, we share computer systems, we share copier. basically they have an accounting person, Darla, that helps us run QuickBooks and does our books. And that's really the bulk of it.
Thank you.
Matt, we should probably talk to Denise. I mean, she probably understands, you know, and could explain this.
Yeah, I can go through with Denise and Darla to make sure that we're on point.
Alderman Coran.
I just want to give some context to Visit Marshfield. I've served on this board since 2011. Shortly before I came in, this organization had to borrow money from the chamber to make payrolls. And that was a part-time position as an executive director. I think Sharon worked 25 to 30 hours a week. And I want to remind the council that the tripling of the room tax since that contract was signed also triples the amount of money Parks and Rec get into our system. And I feel like a lot of the questions are aimed as in a negative matter, when with this board sits in front of you, has done a really wonderful thing. And I'm biased, I've been on the board for a long time. I believe in it, but you also have a board that sits here and has changed dramatically over the 11, since 14 years I've served on it. You have Al, who, when he came onto the board, I was ready to leave. And the experience and the large scale, small scale marketing skill set he brought was something that made me want to stay, because there's a free college course. And Danielle just came on to our board, but she has a business that's basically an entertainment destination business that has no right being an entertainment destination. I say this with all due respect. Okay. I mean, you've created something that people want to go out to, and what tourism is now is destination experience marketing. You want to go experience something, and she knows that. Erin, who just came on the board, when she bought property downtown, might have thought you're a little crazy, but you went out and figured out what the downtown needed, and then went and recruited these businesses. So again, another asset. Gary's been on our board, I think, just as long as I have. You volunteer and do more work than I do, I think. But the experience that he brings is irreplaceable. Corey has been at Hotel Marshfield since inception. I've never been to a bad event. Every event has been fantastic. I mean, they're the go-to place if you're hosting any kind of event, and they have a great restaurant. And, the staff Scott Berg, I don't want to forget the people that aren't here, and if I forget my brother-in-law, he might get mad at me. But he created a business that is so defined by his commitment to the community that, when COVID happened, people lined up to buy pizzas simply because it's Scotty. And he's also won best pizza in town for 15 years. So I want everyone to remember this, that they've done good work. They really have. I believe in this organization and the tripling of the room tax. And yes, the room tax did increase from 6% to 8%. That explains a third. They've done more than this. The balloon jubilee is great, but there was a rodeo that we spent $20,000 bringing into town years ago. There's events that we just don't recall. And sometimes it's not about return on investment. Pickleball is a great example. To break even on pickleball, we need to bring in 541 room nights a year for 20 years. That's the break even. And we don't get that back. Part of that goes to Parks and Rec. But they do good work, and I just want to say, as a council member, I appreciate everyone, and as a Visit Marshfield board member, I think we've done good work. And I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone else would like to ask any questions at this point? Alderman Weigel?
Thank you. I tried to keep these kind of categorical, but it might be random, so I apologize. A lot of the discussion has been, marketing heads and beds, but do you guys see any overlap with the growth and development of Marshfield as well?
Could you say that one more time?
So much of the talk today has been about the marketing, the heads and beds, and obviously it makes sense, tourism, but do you see any overlap with the growth and development of Marshfield itself?
I think, tourism is a pure form of economic development, having people come here and spend money. And then I also think too, every new resident, every new business, they're a visitor at first. So they have to have a positive impression of Marshfield, or they're not going to want to live here or do business here. And so that's definitely part of the puzzle.
Okay, this one's probably geared more to Mr. Wolfgram. Is there a definition of tourism development?
So, I mean, you got the statute in front of you. It's not defined directly in there. I've never looked at any case law to see whether there was something there, but there's sort of a general acceptance of what it means.
Right, so I mean, without any case law specifically, carving out what it means or any limitations on it, it's a pretty broad.
It is, and I think that's intentional because of the, the purpose of that statute. But again, I haven't looked for any case law specifically identifying that, but in general, the general term, I think, is very broad in terms of bringing people.
Right, okay. And then with that in mind, are you actively looking for like developmental opportunities, or was it more of a passive, they need to approach Visit Marshfield to request something? In my mind, I'm thinking kind of like the pickleball lights that keep on getting brought up. And my understanding was that the mayor approached and it came from there. But is there any active like seeking out of development?
If it's tourism development that would likely attract visitors, yeah, we'll seek it out and try to talk to people. And just one point, Hap, I did read there's kind of a general definition in the statute for the tourism promotion and tourism development. Did you see that on page 2, Andrew? I think it says FM next to it.
Right, yeah, so, I mean, it does define both the promotion of tourism development and it is that general broad. So specifying development, what does it mean in terms of, it doesn't really do that. But you're right, I mean, there is that, general concept that's provided for both the definition of tourism promotion and tourism development.
Okay, sure. All right. Yep. Yeah, I mean, like we've talked to the hockey group, I think is one that we've tried to keep that conversation going because that kind of development would. So I think we're trying to definitely talk to people when the folks that we're talking about the mini golf reach out and talk to them.
Okay. And I'm just going to take advantage of the collective wisdom in front of me here. Just because more of a curious question on my own here. We've talked about sports complexes a whole bunch and it's come up in conversations. I thought it'd come up Mike on purpose. If we were to get one, what's going to set us apart? Because isn't there one in Rapids that's only like a 30, 40-minute drive away? I mean, it's a legit question for me. I'm just curious with that.
There are a lot of sports complexes and developments here. I think if you find the niche market that you cater to, that maybe it's volleyball, maybe it's basketball, maybe they have 10 courts for volleyball, but we get 15 or 20. Maybe it's, I think one of the areas that I think we could do well in hockey and stuff, that some people from small towns are afraid to go to the big city. And we're kind of like a big town, And so I've heard that from some of the baseball groups that have been here, like, oh, it's so easy here. There's not a ton of traffic. It's easy to get around. And so I think we can market to those because a lot of the groups that play in the Fox Cities or that play in Minneapolis, they're the A team, the best of the best, But then there's the B team, the C team, the D team that don't get all these opportunities. And there's through our sports study, there was a market available for some of these, maybe not the A teams, but they need places to go.
Maybe this might scratch the itch too. I mean, we don't see any compression in Marshfield from events going on in Rapids. We don't head-to-head compete with anybody. So, I mean, they're not walking people to us and they're not sending overflow to us. So they're doing what they're doing and it doesn't seem to affect us one way or the other.
Right, because I guess, and what prompted the question is more, in my mind, I'm thinking is there's a chance of oversaturation of that. And then, okay, great, we build it, we invest in it, we spend money, and it's not gonna hit the goals that we had just because there's one 40 minutes away or something. So would it be fair to describe the desire for a sports complex as more of a, to your words, Matt, like more of a niche, more of a focused of one that there's a need, not just a generic one that's gonna cover everything?
Yeah, in the 2022, a study that we had done, I think it's 21, 22, with a sports group, they identified the different niches and basically said the hockey, if there were 2 sheets of hockey ice here, they basically said the economic impact they'd rated for winter sports in Marshfield was around $1 million. They said if we had 2 sheets to double the amount of tournaments, it could be like 3.5.
Okay, and then, I think you said earlier, the annual budget is usually between 400 and 500,000. What's the average ballpark, like, tax revenue coming in every year?
Room tax revenue?
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, last year was 501,000 and change.
Okay. And then, could you describe the coordination with other, like, economic impact organizations like Mackey, Main Street, BID?
Sure. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I met with the Main Street director, Ben, before he left, and, talked about Hub City Days, and they basically asked, can there's anything you need to help out? And I think a billboard can be a good idea. So we put that together and offered to pay for it, $2,900. We definitely use their websites and promote and market the Wenzel Family Plaza and the Main Street. I think, as my colleague had said before, we spent about $39,000 marketing street businesses and attractions through our social media and advertising channels last year.
Okay,
and, so yeah, I think it's really just trying to communicate with them on events and activities, make sure we can help promote them with what they're doing and be a good partner.
Right.
And Mackey, we have a good relationship with, because we rent office space from them, and again, we promoted Market Dairy Fest. They help us with.
Right, because one of the things I struggled with when I first got on council was the interplay between Visit Marshfield, Mackey, Main Street, BID. There's a reason that all 4 are there, but it's complex. It's not a simple thing, because, I mean, my lunkhead thought, okay, it should just be one, not 4 different ones, and it took a while to understand that a different one there. So do you guys meet regularly with those other organizations?
I usually talk to them every month or 2. I mean, Mackey would meet every day, and I talk to Denise all the time. And I think since the Economic Development Board and then the city, we kind of had been all brought together, I guess I would say, under that umbrella with the, Economic Development Director and that. So I think we're not all getting together at the same time like we used to, maybe on a quarterly basis. And so I think that's probably changed a little bit. And then with a lot of different players, people changing and stuff, I think we can do better.
Okay. And please don't take this question as an attack or anything like that. It's more of a worst case scenario to understand what's at stake. But what happens if the contract's not renewed?
I guess I'd probably need to discuss that with my board, to see where we would go from here.
And because would it dissolve, or, I mean, because my gut feeling is that the room tax is the bulk of the revenue coming in for the organization.
Yeah, it is. It's about 90% of it. So I think as I mentioned, we collected about 500,000 in grants over those 3 or 4 years before. I think we would continue to operate, and then the room tax funds would be appropriated to the city. And we would hate to see that happen based on state law. A tourism entity, if there's not an entity there, then they can't collect tax.
Right. Right, okay. I think that does it for me. Thank you.
Okay, next Alderman Curran, then Alderman Werman. I did not forget about you, Alderman Werman, okay?
Just 2 quick points. I left Mike Fire off my list of Visit Marshfield board members. He has been on the board. And I cannot let that go because, I was looking over there. So sorry, Mike. We appreciate your experience. The other thing is, I think to Andrew's comment, I think there is merit having these organizations meet, because one thing I'm finding out in different committees, that by chance that I'm sitting on this committee and that committee, they're all talking about the same thing, but the only connecting point is I happen to have gotten appointed to that committee. So I think there's a lot of merit to having some type of monthly, bi-monthly, whatever meeting schedule, where not only is it the organizations you mentioned, but perhaps, not to give you more work, Steve, but you, Steve, or some council members other people in the community that are promoting events, whoever's promoting the Columbus Field House, I think would be a really key thing, because then just the discussion, we all know, you get to know each other a little better. So I think there's a lot of merit in that.
Alderman Mormon.
Thank you. So I heard a couple of thoughts that I wanted to tack on to. Number one, I agree with Mr. Duran. I do think that this board has developed a lot over several years and has brought a lot to the city. The other thing I think about is when we talked about disbanding the Economic Development Board, I felt comfortable with that decision at the time because it was something that I was thinking this essentially comes to council anyways. I don't always feel that way with these groups, and I think that's something that we should consider as well, is these groups are doing something that we don't have to go through extra steps or a process to do. And I think it's definitely important when we're thinking about their scope. And maybe that means we need to be more active with these groups. Maybe it means more collaboration or more vision. And I hope that's something that we're going to tackle with our strategic planning that we're going to be doing in the next month or so, hopefully. So, I would encourage the council to think forward in the sense of we're going to be really kind of going gung-ho on what we want to be as a city and where we want to invest our time and money and effort. And so those are things that I think we need to think about when we're thinking about this agreement. One of the other things that was hit on early on, oh man, I'm so sorry, I just lost my thought. We were discussing communications and working with that group. Not only do I think all these groups need to meet together, but I think I just got on the communications committee, but I've been talking for the last 2 years on council about how important I think communications is and how underutilized I think that group gets sometimes. And I think that is definitely something we need to tackle as a council, is we need to get them more involved with things. But I think when we look at these outside groups, Visit Marshfield, Mackey, things like that, like there's so much that communications could be involved with, and I don't want to pack more on to David and Tom's plate, but I do think that we have a huge missed opportunity sometimes with this. And one of the last things I wanted to mention is just, I don't know what the intake process is, but I think Mr. Rigel just mentioned it about how are we going out and pursuing these things. And just as an example, I don't know how many people in the room have been to the Hideout. I'm a huge fan. I know the owners, Matt and Kathy, we're friends. We go way back. It's also Kathy's birthday. Happy birthday, Kathy. But I wanted to bring it up because that's a place that has opened now. I think it's been open for a year and a half, maybe. And I don't think there's ever been any kind of promotion, and they're incredibly unique. So for those people that don't know, it's like a tapas, small plate and mocktail bar. They specialize in mocktails, which I think is super unique, not just for our area, but when you think about Wausau, Rapids, Point, everything that's nearby, I don't think we have a lot of those places. And so to see something like that not get promoted in a certain way, that's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it's not necessarily maybe Marshfield thing, but that's something where I'm like, we do have something unique, like a Jurassic Park, where it's something that not a lot of people are offering or nobody's offering. And we should be doing things like that to capitalize on that. But I don't know if the gap comes from, hey, nobody reached out to us to tell us that, or if it's that we're not digging into those things. So, I mean, I would be curious as to what our intake process is there and how we go about that, and if maybe we need to revisit that.
Yeah, Derek, we've actually sponsored an event for a New Year's Eve event at their location. And we're actually doing another one here in summer. They're doing kind of like mystery murder things. So we definitely have featured them in our advertising and promotion. So gotta watch more Visit Marshfield stuff.
And they've generated some room nights.
They had a hotel. They did.
I did forget about the murder mysteries.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we did hook up a hotel connection with the Hotel Marshfield. They chose them to be their hotel for that. So.
Alderman Fire.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to mention, I was on this board back when Sharon ran it. It was a part-time job, I think 20, 25 hours a week. And she did a good job. And since we got to where we are now, and I was off for 2, 3, 4 years, and then I came back on. When you look at this tours agreement, no matter who it is, if we don't do it, then you still have to hire somebody to do this. So what I'm saying is you're gonna reinvent the wheel. No matter how you do it, you still have to do what we're doing in this board if you wanna spend this tourism money. So if you're gonna reinvent the wheel, it makes no sense, because we've got it. I mean, this board, from the time I worked with Sharon till it is now, it has really come a long way. And it's very, very in-depth what we do. Never did that before. We were lucky if we had Maple Fall Fest, and I don't know what, we had a couple other ones. That's all we can do, but what? Dance, oh, yeah. We used to do dance and romance. That was pretty good, but we had to hire bands. We'd pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a band and hope we'd make money. What? Yeah. So I think you gotta think about this. You say, you asked the question, what would happen if we didn't have you? And well, you're gonna have to start another group to do this. The city can't manage this. They're gonna have to have a commission, which means you're gonna have to get another group to do it. And if they're gonna do what they're doing, we haven't got the ability to set this up. So you don't reinvent the wheel when the wheel's not squeaking.
Alderman Dallas?
Thank you. Just want to talk about a little bit of what you said as far as reinventing the wheel. There's several communities throughout the United States that have merged Mackey, the Visit, well, in our case, the Visit Marshfield and Main Street, and have been very successful in it. And I think that's something that we need to take a look at as a group is, you know, they all three do something different, but can they all do it together? And I understand they put a lot of work in it, and that's not to say that this board sitting in front of us wouldn't be here if we did something like that to kind of make everything a little more cohesive so that we're not triplicating and duplicating processes constantly, and that money could be used in a broader selection to get things done. Just want to throw that out there because we have options, and I think we need to look at all of the options. And nothing against you guys at all. By any stretch of the imagination, you are doing a fabulous job, and I'm not negative about it. I'm just saying, I think we need to look at a broader picture. And I think that if the three groups, the three Marshfields can work together better, then I could see continuing like we're doing now, I think. But I don't think if you guys can't work together, that we probably need to start looking at a bigger picture. Just my opinion.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you guys how many positions at the city need to be filled right now?
A lot.
So
yeah, we don't have, at this time, we don't have a community development director or a senior planner, 2 positions in engineering. We don't have a public works director, although we have an acting public works director doing a great job, and also a civil engineer. And there's a few other positions in different departments.
Okay, well, I'm gonna speak outside of this board, just speak as a private business owner. I've been here for 16 years. I came when Jason Angel was here. He was phenomenal. He was the economic development director. He, you know, I also was part of the group of the Wenzel Family Plaza. I will say there was a time in the very beginning where my husband and I worked with the city when they were fully staffed, and it was a great partnership, working with Mackey, working with Main Street, working with Matt when we first moved here. I understand the idea of joining them. I've actually thought of that too. You know, I have thought of that idea, like, wow, like why? I was one of those people where I thought they were all under the same umbrella until I started going to each meeting, whether I was the president of Main Street or, you know, I sat on Mackey board for 6 years, and I learned that they all have their niche. They all bring something unique and different to the table. So I agree with Jen. I do think that in a way where I would like to see more collaboration, but it is difficult when there's no economic development director either, because that person kind of holds them all together too. So I guess one question I have too is part of the reason why you have a higher room tax is partly because you've been putting these marketing efforts as well to the area, correct? So like it has increased partly because of the effort that this board has encouraged people to come to the area, right? So we need to look at that. The reason why we're looking at this top dollar amount is partly because it was this group that really put a strong effort in promoting it. So they have essentially invested back into the community by promoting and bringing people to the area. So I would hate to see the idea of let's just start over when they are, I mean, you saw Matt's data, pretty incredible. And are you number one in leads for Wood County?
Say that one more time.
For leads in Wood County for spending, are you, and you said that.
Yeah, we have the most hotels in Wood County, so that
that
hundred
says
and
something.
15 million,
Why
60%
fix
of
something
that.
that's not broke? You know, it's pretty impressive. I mean, I'm new to this, but hearing that presentation from you and Corey, and I can't remember your name, it's pretty darn, very impressed. And it would be, as a business owner who works with multiple businesses, that would be detrimental if we considered reinventing the wheel. That's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, move on to number G, which is determine next steps in the process, additional information desired, et cetera. And Alderman Tompkins had asked for some information. So, yep.
Right.
Yep, that would be great if you guys could.
Get it through to me and I'll get it to people. That'd be great.
Yep, give it to Steve and then Steve will give it to everybody, then we'll all have the same information. And I guess,
beyond that, I just want to, if I can jump in for a second.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank the board. I want to thank Matt and Al as president and the entire board. You guys do a wonderful job. Thanks for being here and participating in this conversation for the last couple of hours. A lot of information for the council to absorb and to think about. When I put down this line item on the agenda to look at next steps, I kind of thought it might end up in some debriefing by this body, hopefully shortly thereafter, and deciding where they want to go with it, along with any other information that you give that would help out. So I think it's been very useful and very helpful.
yes, thank you. Yes, Al.
The only other thing that I want to say that we'll commit to, and Scott, you brought it up, and that is, Matt, I'd like you to take the lead in getting together with Denise, and maybe the president of Main Street Marshfield. That's who we're doing. But let's get that ball rolling, open some lines of communication, what we can be doing to collaborate, better.
And I just want to add one more thing. We do respect, I think it was maybe the last slide or second to last slide in your presentation, the urgency of making decisions here so that, I mean, it's not just for you, but for us, our 2026 budget is coming up as well. So we will process and get talking about where this goes.
If you need another hand, I would be happy to come in on those meetings also, since I've been working with Marshall for a long time and I understand the scope, the whole umbrella and the tree.
Thanks, Lois.
So thank you all very much. Now we are going into closed session, which is item H, adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin statute, chapter 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Develop assistance for project Veterans Parkway Estates. So we'll ask you all, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And keep it up.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a motion on the table by Alderman Varsho, second by Alderman Cran. Please vote to go into closed session.
Mr. Werman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Rigel, could you vote, please?
We are in closed session as soon as the door closes. Item J, action on matters discussed in closed session if appropriate. We have a motion on the table, Alderman O'Reilly, and your motion is?
I would make a motion to approve the development agreement with Roosh as presented.
And Alderman Riley, you second, and that's your second?
I do.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote. Excuse me.
Mr. Werman?
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you. And now, who would like to vote to adjourn the meeting? Alderman Dallas, seconds. Alderman Riley, first. Please, please vote to
Mr.
adjourn the
Werman?
meeting. Boy,
Yes.
I know. It's up. The meeting is adjourned. Derek?